So this is a little weird, but I'm recording this immediately after recording the ending ending to this video. I just wanted to kind of say a little bit before my past me starts rambling. Yes, this is a long video. I don't know how long it's going to be at the end, but I'm guessing around an hour and a half. It is a lot of me talking. I don't know if that's what you guys want in a video. I imagine probably not a whole lot, but I'm doing this because I like talking about the deck, about Gimmick Puppets, and anyone should know that because of my channel. This is also my first proper time like actually recording a video, I'd say. So I apologize if my voice doesn't sound great, or I'm stumbling over words or things like that. I would have had a script prepared, but I knew if I started making a script I would keep stalling and stalling and I would never actually get this done. So I just had to press record and hope I could improv most of what I was going to say. So I apologize for the length of the video as well as the quality, but I know there are people who wanted me to talk about this deck in Duel Links, and how the new support impacts it, so I thought I would do that. I said this in the outro, but any questions, comments, talk to me in the YouTube comments or go to the Gimmick Puppet Discord in the description. But besides that, I guess I hope you enjoy listening to me ramble about this deck for who knows how long. Hello everybody, this is Pickles. Some of you might know me, some of you don't. If you don't know me, hello. This will be my first time properly recording a video for this channel to my knowledge, using my actual voice and stuff, so I'm going to apologize in advance. I don't really record stuff often. If you know my channel, you know I really only post silent replays. But I thought, in celebration of the Gimmick Puppets getting the rest of their support in Duel Links, I thought I would actually try to put in some effort and record a video. So we're gonna do that. So for those of you who don't know what the deck is, the Gimmick Puppets are a deck of dark machines, primarily dark machines, whose objective is to summon their Xyz monsters and burn with them, because all of them do big burn. The new wave of support they got in Infinite Forbidden enabled them to perform many different versions of the same FTK. However, in Duel Links, it is a much different situation, because we cannot FTK in Duel Links entirely, I will say. There's one exception, but it's a very stupid line using Chronomaly Atlantis, and it requires you to be playing another engine to do it usually. So that line, that FTK will no longer be possible as of the recent ban list, by the way. The first time I recorded this was a couple days ago, and I did it before the ban list was announced. So we're gonna have to talk about how the ban list affects puppets, specifically with the hit 2 Gimmick Puppet of Leo. But I thought I would start by talking about each of the cards and why they're good and why they're not. So let's begin at the very top. So Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll, voice crack. Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll is the most essential card for the deck, arguably. This is your main combo enabler, and is also, for those of you who have played this deck in the TCG, it's even more important in Duel Links because it is what enables your skill. So Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll, if this card is in your hand, reveal a Gimmick Puppet Xyz in your extra deck and special summon both itself or special summon both the Rouge Doll and a Gimmick Puppet monster with the level equal to the revealed monster's rank from your deck. And if it's sent to the grave, except from the hand, you can add it to your hand. And both effects are once per turn, and you cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn you use either effect, except for Gimmick Puppets. So this is just summoning a guy from deck. It can be accessed off of anything that puts it in the grave. So it is absolutely a card you definitely want to be playing, if not for the skill proccing. Summoning a guy from deck is obviously insane. Notably, that is a full turn lock on the card, which means you cannot be special summoning any non-puppet extra deck monster the turn you try to activate it. So if you summon an extra deck monster and then or a non-puppet extra deck monster, then try to use this card, it will not work. And if you activate it, you're locked for the rest of the turn. So this is why we rock mostly pure. Yeah, but most of the time we're rocking a pure extra deck. So this card's an absolute 3 of. Preferably, if you can't afford to run 3 times through the new box, then you can definitely run 1 or 2. But in an optimal build, you want to be playing 3 of this. Gimmick Puppet Twilight Joker. If a Gimmick Puppet monster you control when a Gimmick Puppet monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, banish that monster to special this card as a hard 1 per turn. I should not need to explain why this is a very bad card. Do not play this at any cost. This is like top 3 worst puppet main deck monsters, and there's some real stinkers in here. Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms, level 4 Dark Machine. When this card is normal summon, send a Gimmick Puppet from your deck to the grave. Very simple effect, very solid effect. A lot of people will tell you not to play this card because it's just a weaker version of a card we're going to talk about later in Gimmick Puppet Little Soldiers. But you want this as a 1 of for sure. Because the main difference between it and Little Soldiers, which I'll tell you right now is also a card that Foolish is a monster on normal summon, is Scissors can send level 4 monsters, Soldiers cannot. So Scissor being able to dump some of our level 4s is actually very important, and you want it as at least a 1 of. It's also buffing your consistency if you play it, which is also nice, so you can play it at least 1. Bump it up to 2 if you feel like you need extra consistency. I wouldn't say play 3 though. Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby. This card is normal summon. Target a Gimmick Puppet in your graveyard except Terror Baby to special summon it in defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to your Gimmick Puppet monster effects this turn. This is a very insane card. Its utility as a normal summon is very solid, but a little bit underutilized, I should say, because you're not often using this as your first or second normal summon, because this deck can have 2 normal summons. Its graveyard effect is insane though. This is just turning off every kind of negate in the game, which is really busted. So I say play this as at least a 1 of, and I would say 2 is probably a really good number to also consider if you don't think there's anything else worth playing over in that slot, because if you have 2, that means if you draw 1, you can still send 1 from deck to grave, and you can still normal summon the second copy and use its effect. Or you can have them for multiple turns with their graveyard effect, so it's really good. So I'd say play it as 2, and a minimum of 1. Humpty Dumpty, Egghead. I'm mixing up the 2 eggs of the deck. This is one of the 2 Earth Machines the deck has for no apparent reason. You can only use this effect with Egghead once per turn. Discard a Gimmick Puppet to use one of these effects. Either inflict 400 damage or make this card's level becomes 8. This was a more justifiable choice before the deck support came out, because getting puppets out of the hand was a much better thing back then. It's not anymore. You're definitely never considering this card. It's kind of a troll. And even if you want to use its effect to burn, you can't do that in the first turn. so it's pretty useless. Do not play this card. Shadow Feeler, a level 8, can't be destroyed by battle if you take battle damage from a direct attack while this card is in your grave. Special summon this card in face-up attack, and if you do take 500 damage, you can only use this effect once per turn. If this card is an Xyz material, would be sent to the graveyard, banish it instead. This is by far one of the worst battle traps I've ever seen. The damage you protect yourself from by summoning this card is only applicable if they have, I believe it's 3 or more monsters on board. And even then, you're summoning a 1000 attack beat stick in attack mode, and it's just going to get run over a couple times and you're going to lose. It's a really bad card. Do not play this. Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, notably limit 1 in Duel Links. Special summon this card by tributing an Xyz monster you control. You can only special summon this card once per turn this way. And if you do, or when you do, you can special summon a Gimmick Puppet Nightmare from your hand or grave. And if this card is special summoned, you cannot special summon any monsters for the turn except Gimmick Puppets. Now, notably, this card was used in the branded strategy fairly often as a card to lock the extra deck of your opponent because they could give it to them on. We cannot do that. We cannot do that in our own archetype. What we can do is use this card as a prevention device for floaters. So basically any card that's going to summon guys during your turn, like you can give this to them and they can't do that anymore. So it can be anti-nib in that way too, which is kind of neat. But I say don't play this, you're using up your limit 1 slot, which is especially important now that Gimmick Puppet of Leo is also limited. So don't play this card. But it's definitely not one of the worst choices out there, I guess. Gimmick Puppet Bisque Doll. Special summon this card by discarding up Gimmick Puppet. Banish this card from your grave. Your opponent cannot target Gimmick Puppets you control with card effects this turn. Now, this is a very solid card that is a kind of an issue to draw a lot of the time. You don't want to see this card in your hand. It is the mechanism is to use the second effect of the card. You want to be able to prevent your opponent from targeting all your guys, which is really good. But unfortunately, its value in hand is kind of meh, because you don't really want to be discarding puppets anymore with this deck. So it's a 1 of and a maybe 2 of if you really want to make sure you have 1 in your deck at all times. But I'd say play it at 1. Gimmick Puppet Dribby Doll. This card is in your grave. Banish a puppet from your grave to special summon this card. And that's a hard once per turn. And then you cannot be used as an Xyz material except for the Xyz summon of a Gimmick Puppet monster. The lock we don't care about, because we already lock our extra deck. But this is just a fairly solid extender. It's just another card you can put in the grave, because you can put a lot of cards in the grave, and you'll very often run out of good things to put in the grave. So this is a very solid card. Play it as a 1 of. Play it as a 1 of if you are running a pure version of the deck. If you are running a supplementary engine, think like Horus, I'd say you can afford to cut it. But in the pure version, you absolutely want this as a 1 of. Magna Doll. If your opponent controls a monster, and all monsters you control are Gimmick Puppets, you can special summon this card from your hand. Very simple, not good. This saw a post Infinite Forbidden, which is the set the Gimmick Puppet support came out of in the TCG and OCG. This saw a small stint of somewhat usability because it was just a body you could summon because you were giving your opponent bodies anyway. It got immediately power crept when Fiendish Knight came out. So this card's not good. Don't play it. And especially in Duel Links, because we can't give our opponent monsters on the first turn of the duel. Do not play this card. Gimmick Puppet Little Soldiers. And if this card is normal or special summon, send a Gimmick Puppet monster with a different level from this card from your deck to the grave to make it this card's level become that monster's. And this effect is once per turn. You can banish this card from your grave, target up to 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters you control. and increase their levels by 4 until the end of the turn. This is a very, very good card, and one of your best starters. The only downside to this card is that it cannot send a level 4s, as aforementioned when I talked about Scissor Arms. So, overall, it's a very good card. You want this as a 3 of for sure. The level modulation and the graveyard is very good for making use of your level 4s. So absolutely a 3 of, but it's the same case as Rushdoll, where if you can't afford to go through the box 3 times, you don't need to sweat it. You don't need to sweat playing 3 of. It can always be replaced with more Scissor Arms, which is I believe this is just a ticket card you can get with the free tickets, so yeah. Gimmick Puppet Des Troy. You get the joke? Do you get the joke? Once while face up on the field, target a Gimmick Puppet monster on the field and destroy it. When this card is sent from the field to the grave, special summon 1 or 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters from your hand. This card is bad. The only reason this ever saw play in Duel Links was because the skill summoned it for free. But this just isn't good because puppets in hand usually aren't bricks anymore, and it's a waste. This is a waste of a normal summon, and there's no point in specialing it really, or searching it. Since it is a when effect, if it's sent from field to grave, it has to go to the graveyard as the last possible event. So you can't link it off, or else it'll miss timing. You can't detach it it's sent from field anyway, but you can't do anything with this card besides use its own effect to destroy it, or have something else destroy it, or send it to grave. So bad card, don't play. Gimmick Puppet Gear Changer is the other Earth Machine of this archetype. Cannot be special summoned from the deck. No one knows why this effect is on this card, but it just is. Once per turn, target a Gimmick Puppet you control, except this card, and make its level become net monsters. Bad card. Can't be special summoned from the deck. This doesn't matter, but it's just such a weird line of text to have on this card. But bad card, it's a level 1, so can't even summon it with Rouge or anything. And it just copies a level of a card that's just not good enough to be played. Don't play this. Gimmick Puppet Cattle Scream. Detach a material from the Xyz monster you control to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. And if a Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster has this card as a material, it gains the following effect. Once per turn, target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense mode. This is a very, very good card. Very solid card, I wouldn't say good. Because it's an extender, it's not a brick in the hand, as long as you have an Xyz, which can be tricky sometimes. And its effect while it's on a puppet monster is very useful into situations where you are repeatedly reviving an opponent's monster to burn it over and over again with Giant Grinder. So a very useful card. It's also 2000, so it's a pretty solid beat stick and is our strongest main deck monster actually. You want this as a 1-of. It'll be very often your Rouge Doll target. Gimmick Puppet Fiendish Knight. If this card is in your hand, target a Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard or a monster in your opponent's grave. Special summon it to its owner's field in defense mode. But its effects are negated, then special summon this card. If this card is sent to the grave except from the hand, add it to your hand. Both effects are once per turn, and they both will lock you the same way Rouge Doll does. So it's a very similar card to Rouge Doll. Its second effect is the exact same, but it's a very good extender. You are getting 2 extra bodies for no commitment of a normal summon, which is good. If you can commit a normal summon to it, you can normal summon Scissor Arms. Scissor Arms sends Fiendish Knight, and now Fiendish Knight revives another guy, and that's 3 bodies. That's really good. This card is absolutely a 1-of. You can argue to play it at extra copies if you want to see it more, but you have plenty of ways to access it, so you don't need more. Humpty Dumpty. When this card is normally special summon a puppet from your hand. This is a once per turn. Bad card. Like I said, we don't need ways to get puppets out of the hand anymore. Do not play this. Moving on to the spells, we've got Junk Puppet. You target a puppet in your grave and special it once per turn. This is just Monster. This is just Monster Reborn. I voice cracked there. Yeah, it's fairly solid. The only struggle with the card is you can't search it. So it's like a play it if you want, but the deck has enough extenders to where just praying you hard draw Monster Reborn isn't very useful. I'd say don't play it, but if you see value in it, you can definitely go ahead. Perform Puppet is a continuous spell where you can banish a Gimmick Puppet from your graveyard to make all monsters you control become that monster's level even if this card leaves the field. And then if a face-up Gimmick Puppet you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect and sent to the grave, target a banished Gimmick Puppet and special summon it. These are both hard once per turn. Now the utility of the first effect is gone because Little Soldiers is already level modulating your guys for you. And the second effect is useless because you can't pop your own monsters to trigger it. So you have to rely on your opponent actually popping your guys to summon a banished guy, which isn't even that good. So don't play this card. Not even searchable either, I should say. Rank up Magic Argent Chaos Force. Target a rank 5 or higher Xyz monster you control and special summon from your extra deck one number C or Chaos Xyz monster that is one rank higher than that monster you control by using it as an Xyz material. This is treated as an Xyz summon, and the Xyz materials are attached to it, become the Xyz materials on the summon monster. Then, if a rank 5 or higher Xyz monster is special summoned while this is in your grave, you can add this card to your hand as a once per duel effect. You need this card. This is you are searching this, and this is what enables you to summon your Chaos Xyz. And you need absolutely one of this. I wouldn't say play more than one, just play this as a one of you need it. Condolence Puppet. Send Gimmick Puppet monsters with different names from your deck to the grave, up to the number of monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck +1. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Machine Xyz monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by the opponent's card effects while face up on the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, something people don't tend to understand about this card is you will still be able to activate it if your opponent does not control a monster special summon from the extra deck. Because this card says +1, if your opponent controls no extra deck cards, you are still sending one card. If they control an extra deck monster, you send 2. If they control 2, you send 3, etc, etc. So, this is a very good card going second, and going first, very worst case, it's a starter. Because you send Rouge Doll, and Rouge Doll is full combo. So you absolutely play this as a 3 of. Going second in activation can sometimes just win you the game. Because you activate this, if your opponent controls 3 extra deck monsters, you send 4 guys. You put your Bisque in grave, you put your baby in grave, banish those, and then can't interact with you, and you just win. So absolutely a 3 of. Puppet Ritual. If your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 higher than yours, target 2 level 8 Gimmick Puppets in your grave, and special summon them. You can only activate this card once per turn, and cannot use your battle phase the turn you use this effect. Should not need to explain why this is a bad card. Anything that requires you to have less life points than your opponent is bad, and it locks you out of the battle phase. Do not play this card. Marshalling Field. People forget this is technically a Gimmick Puppet card. You cannot special summon monsters except machine monsters. Once per turn, declare level from 5 to 9. All level 5 or higher machine monsters on the field become that level. If a Machine Xyz monster you control would be destroyed, send this card to the graveyard instead. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add a rank up Magic Argent Chaos Force from your deck to your hand. This is a very bad card. The level modulation is bad. You're locking yourself into machines for no reason, so if you're playing a hybrid deck, it just doesn't work. It doesn't modulate level 4 or lowers, which is kind of bad. And the protection effect is okay, but we don't need a way to search Argent anymore because of our new Xyz. So this is not a card you want to play. Its only use is its protection effect, and even then, that's just not useful in any capacity. Puppet Parade. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, special summon Gimmick Puppet monsters with different names from your deck, up to the difference. Then, if your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 or more than yours, you set a rank up Magic normal spell directly from your deck, and then you cannot special summon monsters except Gimmick Puppet monsters for the rest of this turn. And it is a hard once per. You can only activate one per turn. Now, a lot of my. If you are not familiar with how the new skill works, you might say this card is not playable. It is very playable. So, for those of you that don't know, the Dark Stirring of the Dreadful Doll skill, it says, I will go into its effect later, but basically if you're going second, you get to set a puppet trap or an Xyz spell trap for free, and you can activate it that turn. So, if you're going second, you just set this card and you can immediately activate it for free bodies. It is very good. And I would definitely recommend at least considering it as a one-of. If the concern is that you are going to brick on it going first, it's fine to exclude it. But I would say you definitely want to at least give it a try. I'm playing it as a one-of, and I would heavily recommend most people do. Puppet Shark. Detach a material from a monster on either field, and if you do, excavate the top 4 cards of your deck. Choose one, and apply the appropriate effect based on its card type. Also place the cards on top of the deck in the same order. If it is a monster or a spell, you can add it to your hand. And if it is a trap, set it, you can be activated this turn. And each effective Puppet Shark is once per turn. Now, for the same reason Parade is better, this card is technically better. Being able to set an extra puppet trap means you don't have to choose between play and another puppet trap. So you can theoretically also get this card to deep dig for a staple, or for a tech card, which is what they're probably called in Duel Links. So it's not a bad card to play, especially if you're playing a lot of very, I guess the term would be auto-win staples. Like, if you're running, floodgates, and you want to really dig for them, this wouldn't be a bad card to play. But otherwise, I wouldn't play it. It's just not that valuable. It's not valuable enough, and it's a gamble. And notably, something I should mention, detach from either monster on the field can come up. You can set this card going second, and if your opponent has any Xyz, you can just detach from it, which is kind of neat. Sorry, I can tell my voice is already giving out from talking this much, but I like talking, so it works. Service Puppet Play. Target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Gimmick Puppet Xyz you control, and take control of those monsters until the end phase. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you control a Gimmick Puppet Xyz, you can banish this card, target an Xyz monster in either grave, and special summon it to either field in defense mode. This is your main search as a disruption going first, and it is very good. Stealing 2 monsters is in Duel Links, since there's only 4 monster zones, including the EMZ, you can only steal 2 monsters, but stealing 2 monsters can sometimes just win the game by itself. So you definitely play this as a one-of, absolutely, it is your search target, and the graveyard effect is actually very useful on the follow-up. Now we are on to our extra deck monsters. Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll is a Link 2 that requires 2 machines, any 2 machines, and then during the main phase, if you control this Link Summon card, you lock yourself into machine Xyz monsters for the rest of the turn, and then you take a Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck, either add it to hand or send it to grave. Then, if the only monsters you control are Gimmick Puppets, you can special summon a Gimmick Puppet from your hand. Very good card. It is one of your best ways to grab extenders and also to help force interaction. So you want at least 1 copy, and if you really think, and I would say play 2. I like playing 2 because having 2 copies has come up for me a lot. But if you want to play only 1, you can go ahead and play only 1. Gimmick Puppet Gigantes Doll. 2 level 4 Gimmick Puppets. You can detach 2 materials from this card, then target up to 2 monsters your opponent controls and take control of them until the end phase, and then you are locked into specialing only Gimmick Puppets and attacking with only Xyz. And you can also tribute this card to make all monsters your opponent controls become level 8. Each effect is a hard once per turn. Steal 2, going second, steal 2 guys. You tribute them to make them 8s and use them for an Xyz is great. The card does not come up a whole bunch, especially in Duel Links where you have a lot of extra or less monster zones to work with. But you absolutely need to be playing one, even if you're not summoning it a lot, because you need to have it to reveal Rushdoll, so Rushdoll can summon level 4s. So absolutely a one of. You need one. Fantasix Machinex. This is such an insane card. And anybody who's seen an FDK using it knows why. 2 level 8 monsters. You can detach a material from this card to add a rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand, and then you can normal summon a machine monster in addition to your normal summoner set to this main phase. And then if you special summon a Gimmick Puppet Xyz, you can special summon this card from your grave to either field in defense mode, then add a rank up magic spell from your grave to your hand. Both effects are hard ones. This card is insane. This is your only way to search rank up magics, which you need to access your Chaos Xyz. And the additional normal summon is huge. And in addition, it just becomes extra bodies and recycles your rank up. So absolutely insane. You want to. You definitely want to make sure you can summon a second copy if your first one gets disrupted. So I would say absolutely try to grab 2 of this card if you can. Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. 2 level 8 monsters. Twice per turn during the main phase, detach a material from this card and target a special summon monster your opponent controls. Destroy it, and then if it was an Xyz, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. This is your best way of breaking boards, especially against Xyz. You can just burn them to death with this card. So you absolutely want 2 because it is not a hard once per turn. I would say absolutely play 2 of this card to help push through boards, because you will very often be in cases where you don't want to commit to your Fantasix yet because you knew it's going to get disrupted. So you can go Giant Grinder first to threaten whatever monsters your opponent has, and then once they use the disruption on the grinder, then you can go Fantasix because they've used their disruption. Gimmick Puppet of Strings. Once per turn, detach a material from this card to place a string counter on each face-up monster on the field except this card. During the next end phase of the opponent of the player who placed a counter by this effect, destroy the monster with string counters, and if you do, inflict 250 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. The effect is irrelevant. It is a 3000 attack beat stick, but its effect only becomes irrelevant when you're ranking it up into its chaos version. So you definitely want 1 of this. At the very least, it's a beat stick, and at the very best, you're using it for its chaos version. Gimmick Puppet of Leo. Notably, in the most recent Duel Links ban list, this card was limited because of a janky FDK that nobody plays in Duel Links. But it was limited anyway, so you just gotta deal with it. Once per turn, if you have no cards in your spell and trap zone, detach a material from this card and then place a destiny counter on it. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you use this effect. If 3 destiny counters are on this card, you win the duel. This card needs 3 level 8 monsters too, by the way. So it is a 3200, that is very good. Its chaos version is very good. But a lot of people are putting into question right now if this card is worth playing for its chaos version and using your limit 1 slot on it. So my take on that is it is absolutely worth it. However, it is understandable if you do not. I would say you can go either way. But my take is that this is a very good card to access, or C88 is a very good card, the Chaos version. And I wouldn't want to lose access to that card, in my opinion. Because it is, I'm a big Leo fan. You guys should probably know that because of the Leo replays I've posted. So I'm not cutting this card, but if you want to use your limit 1 slot on anything else I discuss, you are absolutely free to. Let's talk about the skill now. Dark Striking of the Dreadful Dolls. You can only use this skill's 2nd and 3rd effects once per duel if your deck contains Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force. This is why you need Argent. At the beginning of the duel, add 3 Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls cards to your deck. Anyone would look at this and said, oh, Mansion was missing, you forgot to include Mansion. Nope, Mansion is skill locked. You get 3 copies of it in your deck, and you get the 4 Chaos versions as well in your extra deck. 1 copy of each, notably. And then if you are going first, you cannot place monsters in your opponent's main monster zone, and your opponent will take no effect damage from your effects, only applying to the first turn, of course. Now you get to reveal a Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll card from your hand, to shuffle a card from your hand into the deck, then add a Gimmick Puppet monster or a Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls from your deck to your hand. This is why Rouge Access is extremely important. If you control a Gimmick Puppet Xyz, or only your opponent controls a monster, set 1 Puppet Trap card or Xyz Spell Trap card from your hand or deck to your field. This can be activated the same turn. This is a very good skill. This is a very good skill. Do not, even if it's not as good as some of the other skills in the meta, do not underestimate this skill. The third effect is very good, especially for both going first and going second. Because going second, you're setting Parade and getting a bunch of bodies. And going first, you're setting an extra disruption. So, both very good. The sacrifice of not being able to FTK, a lot of people will be like, oh, that's bad, that makes the deck bad, but the deck can perform more than well without the FTK. But I will read these cards now because I didn't get to read them. Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. When this card is activated, add a Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to your hand. Gimmick Puppet monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle and are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters except Xyz. Once per turn, detach a material from an Xyz monster you control, then target 1 Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position. Sorry, just had to check something. You can only activate 1 Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls per turn. Very, very insane card. The protection, only extending to monsters is a little rough, but that is still an insane level of protection. It searches, that's great. It means you're going to be able to combo with it after you search it with Rouge Doll. And the third effect does not come up nearly as much when you're not FDKing, but it has situations, I'd say. Very good card. You obviously play it at 3 because you have to. Chaos 15, Giant Hunter. Gimmick up a Giant Hunter. Once per turn, detach a material from this card to target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if it was a monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. I should note for anybody who doesn't play Duel Links halves the burn on most cards in the game. So originally Giant Grinder did full attack, Strings did 500, and this did full attack as well. So just keep that in mind. This is a very solid card. The benefit to it is that it can pop back row over Giant Grinder, and also it burns even if it's not an Xyz. So very good card. You will summon this a lot. Chaos 40, Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings. If this card is special summoned, destroy as many monsters with string counters as possible, and if you do, draw 1 card, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the highest original attack among those destroyed monsters in the grave, and it's your choice of tide. Once per turn, detach material from this card, place a string counter on every face of monster your opponent controls. This is the payoff for your 40, and it is very good. It's just a board nuke. But notably, since you only have access to 1 copy of this card, you cannot do the play where you summon it, detach to place counters on your opponent's monsters only, and then summon another one to use it to destroy them all. So you have to use, you either have to use strings to place counters on everything except the strings, which means it will blow up your own monsters too if you're not careful, or you have to summon this card, detach to place counters, then put it in the grave and revive it with, for example, Terror Baby, which I have done, but it doesn't come up super a lot. It's also a 3300, so it's really big, really good. Chaos 88, Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. Must be special summoned with a rank up magic spell targeting Gimmick Puppet of Leo and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot be targeted by card effects. Once per turn, detach a material from this card to inflict 500 damage to your opponent. During the end phase, if your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less and this card has no excuse materials, you win the duel. So, you cannot... Sorry, I'm just jumbling my thoughts in my mind right now. Notably, this card cannot be targeted is very useful as it making it going first. So you can make it going first and it can't be targeted, which gives it extra utility over, say, just a vanilla body on the board. The win condition, they didn't change the amount of life points required for the win condition, which is super nice. So if you manage to reduce your opponent's life points by half, you can win with the condition of this card. So it's very useful, especially going into a board you can't fully break. If you can't fully break it and reduce their life points to 0, you can summon this guy, make sure it has no materials, and then just make sure they're under 2,000 before the end of the turn and you win. So it has a lot of use cases, and I have used this card in tournaments to win games. So, pretty solid. It's also 35, it's huge. It's a huge guy. Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex. If this card is special summoned, add a puppet trap from your deck to your hand. You can detach a material from this card, special summon one monster from either grave to your opponent's field in defense mode. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, target one of them, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to quarter its original attack. And each effect is once per turn. Very good card. The last effect makes it a disruption, which is something the deck really struggles to have with Xyz. It is the only Xyz that has a disruption built into it. It searches a puppet trap, obviously huge because our puppet traps are very solid, especially searching puppet play. And the second effect helps you with burning your opponent to death. Very good card. 3100 guy, too big. So those are all the puppet cards covered. I have a section also for tech cards as well. I will go over now. So just a few cards. I will try to be brief with this because I remember last time I recorded this section it was pretty long because the regular section was already long. Gizmegarochi, level 8 dark machine that can summon itself, theoretically playable. I wouldn't recommend this card though. Desperado Barrel Dragon, same situation, but slightly worse. Do not play this card. I just like bringing these up because these were both cards you would have played before this war came. The Horus Engine, Happy Imseti King Sark, really good. You can absolutely play this, but you do not need the engine in any way. It's fine with the engine and without the engine. Absolutely playable if you want. Perfectly okay if you don't. Mega Magic Numero and Force. I used to play this card a lot, and I defended it with my life. It's especially really good in the TCG, but it just doesn't have a place really in Duel Links, I'd say. You can absolutely play it. Just use it to negate your opponent's entire board. But since we have such heavy access to Mansion now, having to negate your own Mansion is sometimes really rough. So you can play this if you want. I dropped it just because it didn't come up a whole lot for me personally. Terraforming, add a field spell. Simple, another copy of Mansion. However, now that this is limit 1, alongside your Gimmick Puppet of Leo, you cannot use them both, so you're actually having to drop this from lists, unfortunately. Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Launch is a engine that I have seen people utilize, in which you summon Meteorologic Aggregator on your opponent's turn, which sends Elder Entity Natis to pop a card. This makes your turn 1 board much better. However, you are also using your limit 1 slot on it, so you cannot play Leo. And it's also just a complete brick of an engine going second, and you're using 2 slots on it. So play it if you like you're having a stronger turn 1, but otherwise don't. Xyz Import. This is one of your many possible Xyz targets for the skill. It is very solid, but if you have a card I'm going to mention later, you just probably don't play this card over that. Generation Next I'm mentioning because it has Xyz card. There's such Xyz cards. Don't actually play this. I don't know why I have this in here realistically. You're never playing this. Xyz Burst, you're also really probably not playing. I just really wanted to bring this up because Trap Tricks is a very prevalent deck right now. And I want to say that this would be good to Tricks, but the issue is you have to control it in Xyz already, which Tricks is really good at preventing you from doing, so... yeah, no, not really playable, unfortunately. Xyz Gift, you can use one of your limit 3 slots on this to just draw cards. It has the same issue as Puppet Shark, where you're just relying on just getting lucky with your draws. So I wouldn't recommend it. Xyz Shift. This is actually I like this card a lot. I like this card a very much a lot. You get to tag out from any Xyz and any Xyz, any Chaos Xyz into almost any Chaos Xyz. This is one of your best ways to get Chaos 88 out with no material, which is good. The only issue with it is that you're just never searching. There's always better search targets for it instead of it. Going first, you're searching Xyz Block, and going second, you're saying Parade, so it doesn't have a super good niche, but I really like the card. Encore. Encore is a board breaker, and we can search it with the skill. If you really think Xyz decks are going to be a problem this meta, you can absolutely play this card. And just set it and break the board. My only issue with it is that, once again, Parade is just such a good target. Numbers Protection. Omni Negate. The only issue is that it is a single copy, so you just have to rely on drawing it. So not super great, and I've actually cut it. Dimension Slice. This is another card I don't fully know why I have on here, but I just wanted to talk about it. You can use it to banish a monster they control, and if you triggered the conditions to use it via summoning an Xyz, you can be used from the hand, or use the turn of set, which I guess is neat. Don't play this card. I've wanted to make this card work, but it just doesn't work. Wonder Xyz. Immediately after this effect resolves Xyz summon. So this is used to bypass the locks to the extra deck that Rouge Doll and Fiendish Doll have. You can use it to go Photon Lord. You can't use it for Harbinger anymore because that's the limit 1 slot, so I'm going to take that out actually. And Dingirsu, or Dingirsu. Photon Lord or Dingirsu, realistically. The only issue with this is you are still locking yourself out of using Rouge and Fiendish's recycle effects on your opponent's turn. Like, if your Fiendish or Rouge gets sent to the grave and you want to add them back to hand for next turn, you can't do that. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. It's also just not a great disruption. You can search better disruptions. Barrage Blast is a neat card and was absolutely played in this deck before the support, but I would say not to play it now just because it's another card you just have to draw into, which really isn't good with this deck. If there is a card that you have to draw into, it has to have a lot of utility to be justified. That's why tech cards are tech cards, and this is just not good going second at all. Xyz Block. This is absolutely the card you are definitely playing, because it is a monster negate and you can search it. It is a monster negate trap card and you can search it with the skill. You are absolutely playing this as a one-of. Pulse Mines, you can use this to stall if you really feel like it. Doesn't have any utility going second, so I personally wouldn't say to play it, but if you're playing like a version of it where you're like using Puppet Shark to mill for good staples, I would say go ahead. But just not super good. Yep, nope, that's all the tech cards. I will show you my current list right now. This is the wrong list, but I will show off this list because this is what the deck looked like before the support. You were using the Relinquished Puppet skill and you were summoning Ding a lot, so not super good. But this is the current list. Notably, I will not be able to play Terraforming anymore, so I have to find another card to slot in there. But we are on 3 Rouge, 1 Scissor, 2 Baby, 1 Bisque, 1 Drury, 3 Soldiers, 1 Cattle, 1 Fiendish. And our tech cards are 3 Droplet, 3 Lance, and 3 Book of Eclipse. We've got our RJ Chaos Force, we've got our Terraforming, which, as I said, has to be removed. Our 3 Condolence as more starters. Our Xyz block, our Puppet Parade, and our Service Puppet. Our extra deck, 2 Chimera, 1 Gigantus, 2 Fantasix, 2 Grinder, 1 Strings, 1 Leo. Very simple stuff. This deck can afford to play 30 cards because it has 14 starters. Doesn't mean you won't brick, but you can't brick going second because of the skill, but you can sometimes brick going first. Droplet is a really good choice in this deck because it can sometimes you will draw puppets you want to put in the grave. So you can use this card to do that. It is also just a very insane card in this meta. Or it's just a very insane card in Duel Links specifically because Duel Links power level is slightly lower. Forbidden Lance, because of our field spell only protecting against monsters, I am playing this card because spell traps are much more prominent in Duel Links compared to TCG OCG. Especially with Trap Tricks being the current best deck. But yeah, nope, this is my list. This is what I've settled on right now. It's got me a lot of success. So pretty good. It's pretty good. But I'm going to cut to a section where I talk about meta, or talk about the decks in comparison to the meta, and probably maybe some other things I'm forgetting right now. And we are back. I took a quick break before we're moving down to the next section, just to make sure my voice was ready to keep going. I was glad that previous part was only 45-ish minutes, because in the first time I recorded it a couple days ago, it was an hour and 17 minutes. I really hope that doesn't mean I missed something, because that's 30 minutes of difference. I'm hoping it just means I was faster in talking. But it could be either. I'm going to have to listen to it and we're going to have to see. Anyway, I just thought I'd briefly talk about the decks that are currently in the meta and how they match up into Puppet. And just see, and then just maybe check out a couple lists and talk about them. And then potentially moving on to replays after this, because I think that would be the only thing I would have left to cover. But I know it's a little late into the video, but if there's any questions or questions about the deck or questions for me personally you want to ask, feel free to do so in the comments. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Yeah, no, if there's anything I don't include in this video, you can definitely ask that in the comments and I'll try to answer. But let's talk about these great decks in this meta. So as you can see here, we're actually slotted into tier 3 already, which is pretty nice. I have a feeling we will not be there for long, though. Duel Links power creep tends to be super fast, so unless we get flushed with a new skill or anything, we could be knocked out of here very quickly. Best deck, Drop Tricks. This deck. I'm going to be honest with you. If you are going first into a Trap Tricks player, or if you are going second into a Trap Tricks player, you are losing the game. Unfortunately, we just can't do anything into this deck. Being able to set 3 trap holes and then make a Abyss Dweller is really rough. I will say, recent banlist changes came in. They're dropping Gallant Granite because they can no longer run Nibiru because it's limit 3, and they also got their Trap Tricks card in limit 3, so they're not running Nib and Gallant Granite anymore. I think they're usually playing Dweller. I think. Yeah, no, this would be an example of what a list would look like right now. 3 Veiler. Droll is awkward for us. It's like if you don't have Argent in hand, it can be awkward. But I would say the deck has a better time functioning without its rank up in Duel Links than in the TCG. Yeah, no, Veilers are not an issue either. So they can do a lot of things going first, but I believe so. There's two kinds of turn 1 setups to my knowledge. In my experience playing against this deck, it'll be 3 trap holes always. It'll be always the same 3 trap holes. Dweller, Ping Yulika. I still don't know how to say this card. Pingukala. I'm sorry. It'll be 3 trap holes, a Sarah, a Ping, a Dweller, and then a Holutea in graveyard, which can revive a Pudica or a Murmello. So the big issue originally with this deck was that it was using Gallant Granite to search Nib, and you might say, oh, but if you have Mansion on board, you do not care about Nibiru. The issue is they can go on your turn Holutea to summon Romello to pop a spell trap your opponent controls. So they can pop your Mansion and then Nibiru, which is just not good. There are ways to circumvent that. You can use your Gimmick Puppet Fiendish Knight to revive their Romello from the graveyard before they can trigger it. The issue, so they're not going to be doing that anymore. So what they're going to be doing is either a board of, they can make, I think they can end on IP depending on the situation. They're going to be going IP into Goddess a lot, which is a concern. But Sarah will also be summoning a Traptrix from deck. So even if you prevent them from summoning their Murmello or their Ping in the grave with the Holutea, they can just summon another one from deck. The Dweller is a major issue, but especially with access to Parade, we can beat a Dweller. But on top of what Traptrix can do, it's not gonna work. Because normally our way to play through their triple trap hole setup is banish Bisque, banish Baby. Bisque turns off Terrifying, and Baby turns off Whole Nightmare. The only one that we struggle to play through is Bottomless. But if we can't use their graveyard effects of Bisque and Baby, we can't play through any of these. So this is a dead matchup going first almost all of the time, assuming the Traptrix player knows what they're doing. Dr. Hawkeye, by the way, very scary player. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Going first is a much easier time if a really good Traptrix player can navigate your board sometimes, but very often you can just win the game. You can just win the game going first. So it's a very coin-tossy matchup. And if you are going second into a good Tricks player, you might as well just say your prayers. Like the deck is not going to work anymore. Yeah. You're not going to win into this deck. It's just, or going for second into this deck. That's just how it is. For a lot of decks too. B Trooper is a different story though. Going second to this deck. Oh no, wait. I should say this deck is dead. Yeah, this deck is completely dead. It got Resonance Insect limited, which means it can't be played alongside Scary Moth. So the one big issue with this deck was Scary Moth, and now they can't play it. So what they're ending on is usually Bottomless, Fly and Sting, Heavy Cowl, and it was Scary Moth, but I imagine that's changing to probably, whereas this list isn't playing Scale Bomber, but I imagine it's probably Scale Bomber. So it's a pretty easy breakable board. You banish Biscuit, you banish Baby, and that blanks almost all of their interaction. Or you just draw like an Eclipse or something. I imagine this deck won't be in the meta though, so not much else to say about it. Galaxy Photon! This is another Trap Trick situation, except slightly different. Going first, this deck sets up an insane amount of interaction. It's like Transmigration, Photon Lord, Harbinger, Hyper Galaxy, I think, too, and then like 1 or 2 Photon Stream. So like you're not breaking this board going second very often. If you can resolve a Baby and a Bisque, that is a different story, but you are very likely not even going to get to that point. Going second, this deck is a little scary. Or, sorry, if you're going first into the deck, it's a little scarier because this deck has a free way to search Photon Cerberus. And if they summon this card, all your traps are blanked. Which, if you don't know, the end board is the majority of your interaction. So, the thing is, though, if they normal summon Cerberus, they often can't summon a whole lot. So, if you have Mansion on board and you put your monsters in defense, they usually can't summon 62 and C62 to kill you, or they can't break your board enough to kill you. I don't think, usually. That's my experience with Photon, but they could be very different depending on what they draw, because if they just draw, like, Jumper or something, it could be very much different. Oh yeah, Jumper's limit 2 alongside Trans, so they only get one. Yeah, that's neat. But if they use their normal on Cerberus, they can't normal summon, like, Wizard or something. So going first, you have to preemptively put your monsters into defense mode just to make sure you don't get OTK'd. So going second, or going first, your action matchup is decently favorable, I'd say. Okay, I will talk about this very briefly. If you are going second... Actually, hold on, let me see the most recent list. Dr. Dinosaur. Hey, they are running the Limit 1 Leo. Good for them. They're playing Numeron too, that's funny. But I will keep this brief. If you... Oh, hey, my deck's the sample deck. Look at me. That's me. Look at that, that's me. That's me, guys. I'm so cool. Yeah, no, this was back when I was running C Shift too. And Numeron. That's neat. That's really cool. But basically the TLDR, if you are in a mirror match, is if you go first, you lose the game. If you go second, you win the game. A Puppet player going against Puppet going second could just blank all of their interactions very easily, and then just kill. So you either have to go second or draw tech. Draw like a tech that ends their turn, like an Eclipse. So if you're noticing the trend, it's a lot of you just have to go first or go second against the deck. But that should change with the next deck in Punk. Mythic Water Dragon. Yeah, no, they're playing that just because they want to make the Dragluxion to get the Omni Negate. But the only scary thing about this deck is the Omni Negate. If you can get a Baby and Biscuit Brave, you shut down almost all their interaction going second, and going first, you can usually shut off most of their stuff because they're usually playing precious cards skills to draw. Wait, they're playing... Oh yeah, no. Mythic Water Dragon is the extra waters they need for this. That's neat. So, yeah, no, going first, should be pretty easy if you know what cards to hit. And going second, you can blank their interactions with Bisque and Baby, so it's a pretty favorable matchup. Shad, if it loads. Shadow. I have no clue. I honestly have no clue what this deck is doing turn one. I haven't played against a competent Shadow player in a minute. But you really just gotta stop the window. If you stop the windows, you win the game. And this deck probably can't do a whole lot going second. So I'd say it's a pretty good matchup. But I can't comment too much on it because I don't fully know. Now, Tachyon. This is one of our more interesting matchups because we can break their turn one board very easily. The struggle is actually into Spiral Galaxy. That's the concern. This is making a Dragon Galaxy that they control unaffected by card effects and unable to be destroyed by battle. So you can't run over it, and if you can't run over it, they could possibly just kill you on the following turn. So how you have to navigate this is usually they're making an end board of 2 Xyz monsters, usually a Harbinger and a Tachyon Dragon. So you have to force them to use their Transmigration and their Spiral. And then whichever monster they didn't Spiral, you have to blow up 3 times with Giant Grinder. You either have to blow it up 3 times with Giant Grinder to drop their life points to 0, because you'll deal 15, 15, 50. Or you have to blow it up once and then win via Gimmick Puppet of Disaster Leo. Which can be a struggle if your opponent knows what they're doing. Especially if it's a very smart Tachyon player and they just don't make Harbinger and they just sit on Tachyon Dragon. They just sit on one guy and they spiral it and you can't do anything. Sometimes. Why are you playing Photon Stream? Can you search this? No, I guess we're just playing it as a one of? Neat, I guess. It's not a Galaxy card, so this can't search it. I have no trouble against this deck going first. It can't produce enough bodies to beat you going first. So pretty favorable matchup. Flaunderies. Now I have not seen a single one of this deck, but I have plenty of experience against it in like Duel Link or Master Duel. Sorry. This is a very interesting matchup. M-Pen is kind of bad. You can play around M-Pen is the thing. But they're the combo I've seen them do in tournaments with Dreaming Town, where you just book your opponent's entire board, is very concerning. So I'd say the matchup going second is probably not super favorable. However, going second or going first, you set Xyz block and you just check their first normal summon, and I imagine it's a fairly easy matchup. So this could be an interesting. It depends on how powerful they are going first into us. But I will say, leaks have come out. I'm not fully aware of the leaks, but it seems like Therion is making like a 30 or like a 5/6 negate end board. So we're gonna have fun going into that one. But yeah. So Puppet has actually kind of fallen off a little bit in popularity after the deck came out. It used to be like a 3rd or 4th most popular deck. If I think I actually look by 4 weeks, it'll be higher. Yeah, it's a little higher. But yeah. So just let's see if there's anything of note. Yeah, people have been choosing to run Shunade. Sometimes over Terraforming. That's certainly something you could have done. This is playing Rebellion, and I don't, and Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, and I don't really know why. Final Bringer is a very good card. I wish I had this card. I would definitely include it in my deck if I could. This is Dr. Dinosaur again. This guy's a very good puppet player, by the way. He is very, very good, and yeah, definitely give him his credit because he can do really well with the deck, and he has done really well with the deck in the past, even before the support. Another deck playing Encore, a single junk puppet. The Snipe Beam. I don't know why they're playing Xyz Tribal Rivals. This is not a good card. Do not play this. Blizzard. Blizzard is always a fine card. They're playing Puppet Trick too, which I think is neat. Second place in Quantum Dailies. This one, yeah, no, this is playing the Rank Up Magic launch engine that goes Aggregator to Pitch into Tiss, which is certainly an engine of fun. They're also playing Puppet Shark and 2 Encore. Certainly a list. This is my list. Look at this. I was playing Mourners and Veilers before I switched to Lances. So, yeah. Another list on Final Bringer. Oh, Final Bringer is a really good card, I'd say, especially in this deck because you can clog your field with monsters a whole lot. Another Night Beam Enthusiast, a single Night Beam. Trunade, full Horus Engine on this guy. We're also playing Xyz Coach Lord Ultimate Trainer. You know what? I respect it. I was about to say, oh, is this my list again? No, it's different. But yeah, no, those are lists. That's the little bit of the deck's discussion into current matchups, and I guess now I have to go through the hard part of gathering some replays, or choosing which replays I want to highlight, because there's a lot of replays I've gathered, and I want to make sure I pick out some good ones. So we will be right back with those. So I thought before I moved on to replays, I would show a quick example of what you are going to do on your turn 1. This is assuming, of course, that you are wanting to end on Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. If you do not want to end on Disaster Leo, you can just do a simpler board. And I will not explain how to get to that simpler board because you should be able to figure it out from this combo. But from this is a hand. Sorry, I need to scooch my OBS to the side. We'll start this just from a hand of Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll and 3 cards, and I'm using this to represent the skill. So we are going to use our. So we're going to start with our skills effect, revealing our Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll, and putting a card in hand to add our Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. And we're going to activate Dreadful Dolls. Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. Notably, if you want to play around Droll and Lockbird, you will want to summon Rouge first, use Rouge to make Fantasix, the Xyz, and then search Argent. Make sure you search your Argent before searching with Mansion just to play around Droll. You can do that. But in this example, I'm just activating Mansion first because that plays around Veiler, which is also another popular hand trap. But you're going to go Mansion to add Little Soldiers. You're going to normal summon a Little Soldiers. And the Little Soldiers send can actually send one of the 3 8s between Cattle, Dreary Doll, and Bisque Doll. You send a Bisque Doll if you want to make sure you're insulated against Imperm. And you can send Cattle or Dreary as well, or either one of them works for this combo. And then once you've done that, you go Rouge Doll, reveal a rank 8, and then you summon another level 8. This can either be Dreary, Bisque, or Cattle again. In this example, I'm using Bisque. But it really depends what you want to have for follow-up. If you want to have Bisque Doll and follow-up to prevent targeting on the 3rd turn, then you can make sure Bisque is getting great by summoning this. If you want to have extra extension, you can put a Dreary Doll in graveyard. Either way, you have to put Cattle Scream. So you have to send cattle screen. You have to make sure you have cattle screen either engrave or summoned off the Rouge, and then it can be between Bisque and Drury for the next one, I believe, if I remember how this works. Yeah. And then you go specifically Rouge, and then whatever you summoned for Fantastic Machinax, you summon it to the extra monster zone. You detach. You grab your rank up. Now you use Cattle effect to detach the Rouge to special summon it, and now you use the Rouge's effect to put itself back into your hand. This is very important. You want to make sure it's back in your hand. And now from this board, you link off your soldiers and your Fantasics. You don't want to link off your cattle because it'll get banished. You go Chimera Doll. And you got Chimera Doll to search Gimmick Puppet Fiendish Knight. Now you do not use the Chimera effect to special summon a puppet from your hand here. Notably, these zones don't exist, so you only have access to these zones. So you go Fiendish Knight effect, you target an 8. You have to make sure you have an 8. So this would be either Drury or Bisque. You special the Drury, you special the Bisque, you special the Fiendish. Now, because you used Fantasix Machinax already, you have an additional normal summon. So you will tribute your Chimera Doll and your Fiendish Knight for the Rouge Doll in your hand. It seems a little silly, but the main reason we want to do this is because Chimera will be clogging our extra monster zone, and we really just want to get rid of it. But we also want to make it because that lets us search Fiendish Knight, and then since Fiendish Knight was sent to grave, it adds itself back to hand. Overlay all 3 for Gimmick Puppet of Leo. Put it in your extra monster zone, obviously. Now from here you can go Leo effect to put one of your monsters in graveyard to just get a material off of your Leo. Place a counter. Now you go Argent on your Leo, summon Disaster Leo, and this triggers Fantasix Engrave, specialing it and putting the Argent back in your head. You now go Leo Detach. This would burn, but it's the first turn, so the skill prevents us. We're just trying to get more materials off Leo so we can threaten the win con easier on the 3rd turn. Now we go Argent on the Fantasix to rank up into Fanatics Machinax. Now this card searches our Service Puppet play. And due to our skill, since we control an Xyz, we can also set an Xyz spell trap. In this example, I use specifically Xyz Shift. However, that's just because that's what I had in my deck. You're usually setting XYZ block off this because it is the counter trap that is a monster negate. And yep, that's very. This may seem like you're just doing the regular end board with extra steps, but there's a lot to this that helps make sure your turn 3 goes as smoothly as possible. Now, the first thing, Rouge, I should have noted this earlier, but when you're detaching materials from your Chaos Leo, you make sure you keep the Rouge attached, because now you can use your Xyz block to detach it on your opponent's turn, and it'll then trigger to cycle itself back to your hand, which means you have both Fiendish Knight and Rouge Doll for follow-up, which is huge. You, in addition, will also have a Soldier that you did not have to banish, a Cattle that you did not have to banish, and then either a Bisque or a Drury that you did not have to banish. Which means you have more extension or protection, more extension, and level modulation. You also have not used the effect of Argent Chaos Force the once per duel to add itself back to hand, which means you also have that. You have Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo with 2 overlay units, which means you can detach one for its own effect and detach one via Mansion or Cattle to have 0 material and win by its alternate condition on the 3rd turn. You have Fanatics Machinax, which pops a monster here that's when it's special summoned to your opponent's board. That's a disruption. You have Xyz Block, pretend this is Xyz Block, which is a counter trap monster negate. And you have Service Puppet Play, and because we made sure our zones are freed up, this can steal 2. We have one spell and trap zone open for anything, so say we drew an Eclipse, we can put that there as well. And we have Mansion on board, which makes all our monsters unaffected by monster effects except Xyz, which is very solid. So we've maximized our follow-up, and we've made our end board the best it can be. So very good. Some things to note about this board. Eclipse is a fairly awkward card to deal with. If they Book of Eclipse, your Leo gets booked in your Fanatics, but you can't use Fanatics Pop and you can't use Service Play, but you can still use Block. Block works even if your monsters are face down. This entire board does die to Lava Golem. That is one of the major issues with this board. As you probably figured out, it's not a very strong board. It's not very strong. Its strength is in its follow through, but do not underestimate the disruptions it can produce, because this can still win games. But yeah, no, you have two extra cards in hand to work with: Fiendish Knight, Rouge, and Bisque Doll or Druid Doll. All really good. And this is just off of assuming Rouge is in hand, by the way. I'm pretty sure you can do this. I think you can do this with any. Yeah, no, any starter should work with this for this end board. Except exactly Condolence Puppet. Condolence Puppet, I do not think can produce, but by itself cannot produce this exact end board, because you have to activate the Rouge earlier. Oh no, it can. I think, yeah, it can. It can produce the same end board, with the only issue being you have to banish. No, it can't produce this end board. No. Hold on, I have to think in my head. Summon, detach, summon. It can produce the same end board, with the exception that you're not summoning Chimera. Yeah. And you're also having to banish soldiers. Yeah, that's true. You have to banish soldiers as well. But yeah, no, that's the end board going first. I just thought I'd cover it before I got to the replays, and we will do that now. Okay, it's getting a little late, so I'm going to try to grind out this recording. I have replays to show, I think. I have 4 replays I think I collected. They're not great replays, but I try to hope to explain what's happening while they're happening. I have 2 replays here. The only issue is the other 2 replays are, well, I have as share links, which are only viewable on my phone, so I've recorded them. So we're gonna have to watch those. But the first 2 I can get done on here. So there's this one. Okay. My Duel Links does not want to cooperate. So this first one isn't anything too special, but I just want to show how Gimmick Puppet of Leo, Disaster Leo can be utilized going second against a Towers monster, because Tower monsters are actually somewhat popular right now. So this is a Dark Magician player who's going to do just a bunch of stuff. I really don't know what this guy was plan was. Okay, but what they have here is 2 back row. They are never going to activate either of them, I think. But the main important thing is they have the Dark Magicians, which is thanks to their Dark Magic Extended, unaffected by card effects, and 1,000 attack points stronger, so it is a 3,800 towers. So let me show you how we use Leo here to deal with that. We're gonna use setup. We're gonna add a bisque doll with the skill. Hold on, let me turn off VOD so I can play this in slow. But I also set block off the skill because I did not have parade at the time. We searched bisque off of mansion because we want to use it to discard the baby, so we can get the baby online immediately, which we do. We then banish the baby, make sure they can't respond to our card effects. We go soldiers dump cattle, and that's 2 level 8s before committing to our rouge. So we go Fantasix Machinex. Importantly, we go cattle first before the Fantasix effect, so we can get the bisque engraved, which making them unable to target our Fantasix. We detach Tad Argent, and then we do a misplay here. We rank up into Chaos 15. And we try to pop a back row because I had not fully read Dark Magic Expanded at the time. But we go Rouge effect, summon Drury and itself, go all 3 into Leo. Now the issue here we could just go straight into Disaster Leo, but the issue with that would be it would have 4 overlay units, and we can't get rid of all of those. So the way to navigate it, first we go Fantasix effect, summoning it to the opponent's board, adding Argent. We link it off. We put it into a Chimera doll, and we go our Chimera to search Scissor Arms. Use our additional normal summon on the Scissor Arms, which dumps our Fiendish Knight. Our Fiendish Knight adds itself back to hand, and then Fiendish revives the Leo. We then go Argent Chaos Force on our Gimmick Puppet of Leo to rank it up into Disaster Leo. And just like that, we have a Leo with a C88 with 1 overlay unit. We use soldiers to modify both our 4s into 8s and overlay them for Grinder. Now we go Mansions. We go Argent to cycle itself first. We go Mansion, detach from the Leo to get rid of its last overlay unit to give them the regular Leo. Now we have our Grinder, which is going to be used to pop both of these guys. This puts them under 2,000 life points. To be on the safe side, we make a Fanatics too. But we just go end phase, and since the conditions have been fulfilled for Leo, we just win. Very nice. They didn't have any interaction, so it's not really a good replay, but I just wanted to show how you would use Leo going second. Here's an example of Leo going first, I guess. I think this is that one. So this is against Red Eyes, which we kind of have a rough matchup going first into, sorry. We have a rough matchup going first into because Dragoon and Lord of the Red can dismantle our entire board if we're not careful. So we've drawn only Condolence as our starter, but that's okay because that's full combo. We do make a bit of a biff here though, notably. And I'll show it once we get to it in this turn 1 combo, because we're not going to go Chimera here. But the misplay we're going to do is we banish the Fantasix for Dreary Doll. Because, our Rouge is still attached, so we messed up here. You don't want to banish the Fantasix, but this is still technically the same end board. We detach material for Leo. We rank it up into Disaster Leo. And we detach another material, we set our Xyz block, and then we set play and droplet, and we banish Condolence to make sure our Fantasix can't be destroyed by card effects. They use their skill to go +4. They go Insight to grab Red Eye's Spirit. They go Chamber Dragon Maid, and in order to prevent a Xiao, we just block that immediately. They go Poly. They make the Dragoon. The Dragoon can't pop anything on our board though because of Mansion. So they go Transmigration to summon Lord of the Red. Now Lord of the Red is a scary card because this can pop Mansion, and once Mansion is popped, Dragoon just breaks your entire board. So we immediately go Fantasix to pop it. They go Dragoon in response instead of Lord of the Red, because they want to negate these to get, but notably this actually just doesn't negate it. So because of Mansion on board, so I actually didn't need to droplet this. This was kind of a misplay on my part to droplet this. But actually, no, it wasn't entirely a misplay. The reason the droplet response here is actually not as bad as it looks is because if you pitch a monster, it means the Lord of the Red cannot chain itself to the Dragoon to pop the field spell. So this was actually a good call on my part, my mistake. So we send the Fanatics, we negate the Dragoon, and the Lord of the Red gets popped. And since Rougeol was attached to it cycles itself back. And they couldn't out it, so now we just have to deal with the Dragoon. They go Dark Dragoon to negate the Eclipse we top decked. And now it's a 4,000 attack monster that can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, which is actually impossible for us to out. So we burn them with Leo. We summon our two fellows with Rouge. We go for a number 15. Mansion will detach from the grinder to give our opponent the Leo. And we burn them for 16 with the Leo. Rouge puts itself back in hand, and end phase we win. This was actually my King of Games rank up game, I believe. One with Gimmick Puppet of Leo, and I think that's really neat. Now there are two other replays I have to swap to a different way to view them. Is there a way I can just put these on my web browser so you can view them there? No. Okay, I'm gonna have to download them. Which is fine. That's fine. So we'll download those. And I believe I can watch them, or I can switch what my screen is showing to media player. Right? Or it's just not gonna let me. Oh. There we go. Okay, so I don't remember which one this is, so I'm just gonna let it play and see if I can figure that out. Jesus, that is loud. Okay. Sorry about that. I am so sorry. Oh yeah, no, so this is against dinosaurs, and I believe these next two replays specifically are me playing into Abyss Dweller, because I thought that would be interesting to show off. Because you can beat Abyss Dweller. It's just tricky, usually, and usually not possible. So this dinosaur player is going first. Notably, this was also top 16 of a Duel Links Grand Prix tournament, I should say. So this is a dinosaur player. They're doing all their dinosaur things. This deck is a really scary dinosaur. Oh, sorry, I went too far ahead. But, so what this end board is, before it got Book of Eclipsed Frame 1, I really should not have recorded this in fast forward, but they end on Silhouette Rabbit and Silhouette Trick, which is a negate plus a spell trap pop, which could pop our mansion, which is not good. Abyss Dweller, we can't use any of graveyard effects. A Tyranno, which is a Book of Eclipse, and they will also set a Droplet. Yeah, so they immediately frame 1 go Dweller, we chain Eclipse, this turns off exactly the Tyranno and nothing else. So the issue is we have Mansion, but we can't use it until we out the Silhouette Rabbit, because the Rabbit can just pop the field spell. So we go Skill, we set Parade, we use Parade, we summon 2 bodies. We should have summoned 3, but I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a misclick on my part. Should have summoned 3. But we summoned 2 bodies, immediately go for Giant Grinder. This forces the Silhouette Trick, because if they don't fire the Silhouette Trick here, I pop the Silhouette Rabbit. Or I just pop anything. And since Silhouette has to activate itself, then activates on field to negate, they have to do this preemptively. So they do that, negate our guy, but we hard drew Argent Chaos, so we're able to use it to go into Hunter and threaten the other backer, which is Droplet. And now every single interaction of theirs is gone. They have no interaction. They have a face down Tyranno, a face down Dweller, and the defense mode Silhouette Trick, which can't be destroyed by battle. And our hand is Mansion, Condolence, which is dead, and Bisque, which is dead. So we go Mansion, add Rouge, this turns on our skill. We go reveal the we put back the Condolence, add Fiendish Knight summons our Cattle back. And we link them for Chimera. Then we go Rouge, summon another Rouge. We go Grinder. Grinder pops the Tyranno because it has a high defense stat, and the Silhouette Trick because it can't be destroyed by battle. Chimera then adds a Scissor, and we then special the Bisque via the Chimera. Overlay them for Strings, because Strings is just a body. Notably, we cannot activate the effect of Argent Engraved to cycle back, so we're using just our rank 8s for this. And then we normal summon the Scissor Arms, which puts a baby in grave for follow-up. Strings goes into the Dweller, and the rest is enough for lethal. So, very lucky we drew that Dweller. Actually, there was a scenario where we won even without the Eclipse, I say, but I was lucky we drew that because it simplified things a lot. But yeah, no, so you can play through Dweller. I'm gonna have another example here. I can just click on the next video. Excellent. So this is actually a going second against a... Oh no, this is... Okay, so this one isn't a Dweller replay. I remember now. This one is against a very good going second or trap trick player who has knocked me out of tournaments twice, once in top 4 and once in top 8. So this, I believe I lost this best of 3, but I did win this duel specifically, and I want to show that off. So we are going second, which everyone knows is a terrible matchup. But holy, look at this hand. You got Droplet, Eclipse, Soldier's Rouge. I don't believe the Eclipse comes up because we don't even need it. But they're going first, so they're going to do all their trap trick shenanigans. So what this is 2 trap holes. One is a bottomless, I believe, and I don't remember. I think the other was a terrifying. I'm not actually sure, but either way, it's not going to matter because they're never going to activate it. It's an IP which can threaten Underworld Goddess. It's a Holutea Engrave which can revive the Murmello to pop our field spell. And there's a Nibiru in hand too. So a lot of stuff. There's no Dweller though. So that was my mistake earlier. I thought this would be a Dweller replay. Can I like speed? Yeah. Let's slow this down. Never mind, that sounds terrible. My apologies. So we have drawn a second Rouge, which is a brick. But we go this first effect of the skill to put it back and get our Mansion. We fire Mansion here. We go early because we know we can check the Murmello with the droplet if we have to. And we grab Fiendish Knight. But since they didn't summon the Murmello early, we're going to use the skill to set Parade first, yeah. And we're going to go Fiendish to revive their Mellow. Now if they summon the Murmello, we droplet it. Or if they summon the Murmello in response to this, we droplet it. But they don't. They decide to hold it because they figure they'll be able to put the Murmello back in the grave with the IP. And the Murmello targets field spell to pop it, but it's obviously negated because of Fiendish. We chain Parade, but because we control the body, it's only going to summon 2. But then we go in response, we go Droplet, pitch both Parade and Fiendish. So what this does is it clears up our zone so we can summon 3 with Parade. Since we sent a trap and a monster, they can't chain IP and they can't chain a trap to let the IP respond. So the IP will get negated. The Murmello can't pop, or the Mello's on field, so it can't be revived to pop our field spell, which means the Nibiru in the hand is blanked. So now, after this, the only thing we have to worry about is the bottomless. We get to summon 3. We summon Baby Bisque Druid. We immediately put the baby in the Bisque Engrave by linking into Chimera, banish them both. That means this back row is checked, whether it's terrifying or what's the other one? It's terrifying and there's terrifying. There's terrifying trap hole nightmare, and then there's like trap tricks trap hole nightmare. I think that's the difference. I don't remember. But either way, they would both be blanked here, so the only thing we have to play through is the bottomless. We go summon 2 with the Rouge. We go immediately Fanta 6, and they know they have to check this. So that's the trap hole outed. Now we just make our guys. We summon a bunch of guys. We summon a second Fanta to grab the Argent. Make Fanatics, add Surface. Summon Cattle. Rank into Grinders. Fanatics, add back Argent. Argent rank up into Chaos 15. We try to pop the extra back row, just in case because I don't think we fully paid attention on our opponent's turn, so we didn't know what it is. But I forgot Lord of the Heavenly Prison is in fact a card. But since they can't proc the trap tricks, since they can't proc the trap hole, they cannot activate Lord of the Heavenly Prison to summon itself. So that's neat. But in response to they try to Nibiru, so I can't pop my own Fanta 6 to okay, well there's a couple of reasons they had to nib here. It destroys their own board, so I can't just run over these 2 weak guys and kill them. It also puts the Murmello back in the grave, so they can still use the Holutea to revive it and pop field, I guess. It also prevents me from burning them with the grinder to pop the Fanta 6. So they Nibiru with our whole board, but what they failed to realize is that Fanatics will just pop it on summon and deal 750. And then to play it safe, we go Mansion to give them Fanta 6 again to burn for a little bit of extra damage. Rouge puts itself back in hand, and now we're in battle phase. So they go Holutea, revive Pudica, which can't do anything. But because we chose to attack with C15 first, we go C15 to attack it. or we go Fanatics to attack. Since we chose to attack with Fanatics first, since it had the highest attack and would immediately threaten lethal, we can go it into it, and then the C15 in again, because the field spell protects it from being destroyed once per turn. And since we burned with the Grinder earlier and the Fanatics, the Chimera and the Giant Grinder have enough for lethal. So yeah, you can play into trap checks going second. You just have to get really lucky. Droplet. Droplet is very good into trap checks going second. But yeah, no, I think that's all I have to talk about. I might add another section after this, but just in case, I'll stop this and record an ending. And there's probably an intro, because there's probably some things I want to mention in the intro. So yeah, no, that's everything I have to talk about, I believe. I don't think there's anything I've forgotten to mention. I'm going to do not very good things if I forgot something, because my voice already hurts from recording this already. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the little slug cat avatar I have, just because I thought it'd be cool, and I like Rain World, so. But I hope this video was informative. I hope you learned something. If you thought it was good, give it a like. If you didn't think it was good, you don't have to. As I said before, if you have any questions or anything you just want to ask me, just drop them in the comments, and I will probably respond. I will plug the Gimmick Puppet Discord in the description, hopefully, if I remember to. I am very active there, so you can also bring any questions or things to that Discord, and I will get back to you. Is that all I had to say? Yeah, no, I think that's all to say. Like the video if you liked it. Thank you guys for listening to me rant for, I'm presuming this video is going to be about an hour or almost 2 hours. Almost 2 hours, maybe. No, more like an hour and a half probably. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in whatever project I do next, I guess. Bye.